Hi there, Prayer Plant Girl here. Today I did a video walking you around the garden, and as I went to edit it, I noticed that there's no audio for most of it, so I just thought I'd do a quick little intro here just to tell you what we're doing, and I guess I'll voice over the parts that need it. I hope you enjoyed this look at the garden. I haven't given you much of a peek at it yet this year, and a lot is happening, so let's get started. So I thought I'd start over here in this area where I put these big pots. If you haven't seen the video about these new big pots, then I'll try and get a link in for you. You can check it out. This area has mostly potatoes and tomatoes in it, and there's two small blue pots with some dahlias just waiting for me to plant them there, so hopefully this weekend I'll get that done. The front two large pots are a mixture of tomatoes. They're mostly smaller varieties of tomatoes. I have a few marigolds and nasturtiums mixed in, and then it's, I believe there's some chocolate cherry sprinkles and mixed cherry, Tiny Tims, and I think an orange cherry tomato, kind of a combination of those in each of these pots. There's also some basil in there, and some onions, some extra onion sets that I had thrown around the back of the tomatoes just to see how that would work out. I was envisioning these having these bright pops of color with the marigolds out front and the nasturtiums, just flowing over the front, but they haven't really worked out that way for me. But they are flowering, and the tomatoes are growing, the basil's growing, the onions are growing, and that's really the main thing there. So I don't know if you can see the tomato flower trusses starting there. There's the basil down in there. It looks like that basil might even be going to flower a little bit. I'll have to check on that. There's a little bit of a tomato started down there on that one. Lots of flowers. We've had a lot of rain. It's very wet out here, so they should be coming along. There's those nasturtiums. They're just taking their time, and now it's probably getting too hot for them. And you can see the marigolds on the side there. So the marigolds seem to just want to be blooming in behind their bushiness for some reason, but the point of this is really to have tomatoes and maybe some onions and basil if I'm lucky, so I'm happy with that. So after the tomatoes, there's 4 fabric grow bags that I made. Again, I have a video on that if you want to see how I did that. I had planted potatoes in all 4 of them, just some Pontiac potato seed my mom had left over. I have that potato seed kind of popped into corners all over the yard. And there's 2 large pots that have those in them as well, but they're growing well, except that the one pot at the back here that you see, the one fabric pot at the back of this shot here, the potatoes never came up properly, and I just popped some extra tomatoes in there. So I think there's a black crim and an orange cherry tomato or something in there. This is one of the large pots with some of those Pontiac seed potatoes in it. I think I put 6 seed potatoes in here. I don't even remember anymore. There's the other one. They're coming along strong. These were planted probably 2 weeks after the other large pots of potatoes, and they filled in and caught up, and they're looking great. You can see they have flowers on them already, and they're growing healthy and strong. So these pots so far are working out well for the potatoes, which is what I wanted. There's that one fabric grow bag with the tomatoes in it there. Next to that is a large pot of Binti potatoes. I'm probably saying that wrong. We had some horrible wind to go along with the rain last night, so some of these kind of lodged over, but they don't look like their stems are broken at all, so I think they should recover. And there's some zinnias in the middle of all these big pots of potatoes, so I guess that'll give the zinnias a chance to get some sun on them. They're looking really good though, again, and I don't know, I can't remember if these ones flowered yet or not. It looks like no. So that's the Binties, and they're looking good. There's a tree can of Pontiacs right here. Those are the ones that are flowering with the purple flowers. And then right behind them is the Russian blue potatoes. They are flowering. Nice strong looking plants. I love the purple stems on these potatoes. So I'm just really interested to see these potatoes when I get them out of the ground there. But they're flowering profusely and looking great. Across the row there, this is the Linzer. I believe they're an early potato. And again, growing nice and strong. And no flowers yet, which they're supposed to be an early potato. So I thought they would have been the first to flower, but maybe they were a little bit deeper than the rest. There's another pot of Pontiacs there. And this is the German butterball potatoes here. Looking good. Nice healthy potatoes again. I don't think these ones have flowered yet. So next to the pots of potatoes in the middle there, I have a little grow bag I picked up at the dollar store. It just has some onion sets popped in the back, some marigolds, and some oregano and thyme that I had grown from seed. Onto my raised beds, I have this one bed that I planted. You may recall I experimented this year with planting peas and potatoes together. I don't think it's a good experiment. I wouldn't recommend trying it. Everything is growing. The potatoes are flowering, the peas are flowering, but I feel like the peas are only flowering on the parts that are growing above the potatoes. They are starting to get pods on them. They are starting to fill out. You can't tell really that there's 3 rows of peas in here. You really only can see the row in the middle. They do have flowers, like I said. There's a few little peas coming along there. So far the plants look really healthy. There's a lot of crowding in that bed, so I'm not sure how long that will last with the peas. There's not a lot of air circulation there. You can see again from the wind last night, the plants are really lodged around in spots here. But there's supposed to be a row of peas through each of the sides here, and if you look real close, you can see some peas poking their way out. But I think they're not really doing that well there. So I think this is a fail when it comes to planting these together. So this bed here has celery on the left there and a few marigolds. It has new rocket pumpkins. There's one at the front and one at the back. In between those is where I planted some more of my onion sets. There's parsnips on the right at the back there. There's supposed to be turnips. You can see the stake there, but if you look down along this drip line, this is the 5th time I believe I've planted turnips, 2 different varieties, and every time I plant them and they come up and the flea beetles just attack them and they're gone. So I've tried putting fleece over these. I don't know what to do. I've given up. So if I happen to get a couple of turnips that survive this and grow, I might have a couple of turnips, but I'm done planting turnips for this year. Here's my carrots. They look great. Coming in nicely. I can't remember what that variety. I think that's little finger carrots there. There's bottles on sticks. That's just from having the fleece over here. The flea beetles just seem to get under the fleece even when I staked it down on the ground. I don't know. This is radishes. I planted these a few times before. You can see all the flea beetle damage before some survived. Starting to come along here, so hopefully I get a few before it gets too hot. And then beside that is supposed to be pak choi. It was seeds from Ryan from A Little Dirt Never Hurts. And as you can see, the flea beetles really have enjoyed the pak choi seedlings as well. So I think pak choi is out for this year as well. Thanks for feeding the flea beetles for me, Ryan. This is my bed with the cauliflower in it. It also has some black diamond watermelon and two kinds of eggplant. I can't remember, there's two black beauty, one in the middle, one on the right, and I can't remember what the one on the left is. It's a longer eggplant. Just some seed I had left over. And then there's those broccoli sets, those couple extras I had put in there before. And at the very back was supposed to be cabbage seeded in there. Lots of seedlings, but I'm pretty sure not a single one is cabbage. So I'm just kind of letting it grow to see what it is, but I'm quite certain none of that is cabbage back there. It does not look like cabbage seedlings at all. So, and there's some little beets. I had thinned out my beets and I just tried to stick some in. Root crops don't really like being moved around like that, and I don't know that they'll actually take there, but I just kind of threw them there to see what was going to happen. A couple of them look like they're starting to stand up and look happy, so maybe I'll get a few out of them. This bed over here is my peppers, and I have several varieties of peppers. So in the front here is Super Chili Hybrid, and you can see they're loaded with peppers. So I think I'll get some nice peppers off of those, it looks like. I've never tried those before. Those are a new variety for me this year. There's marigolds planted down the middle of this bed, as you can see. And then behind those, there seems to be a random banana pepper there. Some of my pepper plants that I had started from seed got mixed around. I didn't realize I didn't have tags in all of them, so then I had to kind of guess by the leaves what went together. And the banana peppers, it looks like they tricked me. They're kind of spread around. This is a mini bell mix. So there's, I think, 5 plants of the mini bell mix there. And you can see they're putting fruit on as well, so, and flowering. Really happy that the plants really themselves don't look that super, but I'm surprised. We've had a lot of cool, wet weather, so I'm just impressed that anything's coming on there at all. There's, I believe, another banana pepper there. At the end of this bed is the jalapeno peppers, and again they're fruiting and they're coming along nicely. Very happy with how the peppers are producing. The plants themselves really don't look that great, but it has been very cool this summer so far. I shouldn't say it's been up and down is what it has been. We've had weeks of very hot, week of very hot, week of very cold, dry, wet. So they've been going through a lot. And on this side here is the California Wonder Peppers. So they're actually looking a little bit better, but they're flowering. These ones haven't put any fruit yet. But the peppers, the plants themselves, actually look healthier to me, so I'm sure they will be putting on fruit soon enough. And this here is my tomato bed. So I have several kinds of tomatoes in this bed. And at the very end here I have zucchini. There's one big plant and then there's a smaller one. It's took a little bit longer to germinate and get going. It is a little bit shadier in that corner. I think that's why. And then there's a little bit of marigolds and just some random dill. It just comes up everywhere in my garden. And chives down the center. So these I believe are a few Romas and then some black Krim. And then I believe it's Manitoba on the end. And another, I think, 2 Manitobas on this end. And then another couple of black Krim and Aroma, I believe is how those go. I think they're all flowering, and most of them are flowering anyways. The leaves are a bit curled. I don't know if that's from all the rain and coolness that we've had the last few days, but I did have a tomato. I was pruning the other day and of course I knocked it off, so saved it to show you, but did have a tomato. There's my garlic. It's producing scapes. This is my first year growing garlic. I need to look back. I can't even remember what kind of garlic it is. I was just so impressed that it grew. Planted it last fall. From what I know from watching all of your guys' videos, it looks good and healthy, I think. Let me know if you think otherwise, but as far as I know now, I'm just waiting for it to turn brown and form heads underneath the ground. So this bed is my corn, and I have some Baby Jack mixed pumpkins, so that's a mix of little small yellow, orange and white pumpkins. And then I have green beans on the left, Blue Lake Bush, I believe they are, and yellow wax on the right. You can see the yellow wax really did not germinate well, and in fact I think I have a second row with a little bit of the Blue Lake Rush on that side as well. Did not germinate well, but that just seems to be how it's going to be this year for me. So they're coming along. And oh, I put some scarlet runner beans over along the stems of a couple of the corn, just to see what would happen, how it would look, more than anything else. So that's that bed there. The corn, it's got to be at least a couple feet high now, if not some of them more than that. Always seems short to me this time of year, but I know it's right on track from previous years. It just always feels like it should be further along. This bed here is where you might recall from one of my more recent videos. I planted a few starts of broccoli that I picked up at the garden center. And on the right there is some Swiss chard. Again, a few marigolds are plunked in there. There's a couple of kale plants in the front and some cucumbers in the back. I'm hoping to get the cucumbers trellised up the fence. I do need to put in some better trellising system there for them, but we'll just see how well they grow before I get too worried about that. Everything looks pretty good. It looks like it's a super shady spot, but this is in the morning, and that fence gives it a little bit of shade, but as the sun comes around, these are going to get some really nice sun come afternoon. And then there's just a little bit of lettuce down in this corner here. So as it starts to heat up here, I don't think that'll last that much longer. There's some random potatoes in the ground there, choke cherry tree. I can't remember. I think it was just a volunteer I plucked out of another part of the yard. I might have done a cutting. I can't remember what that one was. And I planted an apple tree this year as well, so I'll have to double check the variety of that. But I think I have 5 apples on there, and considering it was in full bloom when I planted it, dropped a few blooms, then we got some real dry weather and I maybe wasn't as diligent about watering it and dropped a few apples, but held on to a few there, so we'll get to try it out. A few more random potatoes. So this bed has spinach. As you can see, it's already started to bolt, so I've pulled most of it out. Then there's 2 kinds of beets. The one on the left is for the beetroot, and the one on the right is for the greens. And then there's kohlrabi in the front, a couple of plants, some more marigolds, Minnesota midget, cantaloupe. So there's the other kohlrabi there, and you can see the cantaloupe is not very far along. It's more of a novelty for me. If I actually get any cantaloupe, that's a pure bonus, but that and the watermelon are just things I like to grow once in a while, just on the off chance I actually get a little bit of fruit out of them, but it's just more of a novelty than anything else. Over here is my rhubarb. It's beside the compost bin at the front end of the garden here, and it's overtaking things, so it's growing nice and healthy. And then there's the strawberry bed here under this netting, and you got to check out these strawberries I'm getting this year with all this rain we've had in June and the nice warm temperatures of the last few days here. Look at those strawberries just hanging thick, and look how nice and big they are. Beautiful. I'll be eating on those soon for sure. The bed's just full of strawberries like this. So I just popped the netting on the other day, and they're starting to ripen, and I want to be able to get them before the birds do, so I just grabbed this and put it over top quick. In front of the shed, I have 2 grow bags that I picked up at the dollar store. And one, they're both carrots. One is mokum, coming in nicely. And the other one is called Livingston Color Mix. So 2 new varieties. I'm eager to find out what they're like. So I have a couple of cauliflowers that have pins trying to hold the leaves in. I can see this one leaf has gotten out of, and there's one down there. So I'm gonna have a look at these. So that head is the best looking cauliflower head I think I've ever had. And it's starting to separate right in here. So before it separates anymore, I'm going to take it in. My daughter was asking me to pick her up more cauliflower. Let's see what she thinks of this. You expert cauliflower growers might not think much of that. Just barely as a handful, but I say it's beautiful, and I sure hope it tastes good too. So I'm going to take that into her. I want to have a peek at that other one there. I don't think it's going quite as well, but some of you said, check it every day. They grow fast when they start growing, and you're right. So I can't believe how quickly this turned. And this year, somehow, I have evaded the cabbage moth, which has never happened before. Normally I would open this up and it'd be full of worms, but looking good. Flea beetles were a problem, but no moths. Let's go see the other one. So this one, I don't know how well you can see it. This one is not looking quite as nice, and it's starting to separate too, so I think I'm just going to take it in and hopefully we can get this out of it. I don't know. I'll leave it one more day. We'll see. I think it's a goner though. This one is trying to form a head there. I don't know if you can see that. It's trying to form a head. So, and it's so limp. Just looks pathetic. And this one here, you can see it's a beautiful cauliflower, but I don't know how well you can see this, but it's trying to form a head in there. So far it's done nothing. So we'll see. But I got one that I think is good. I'm going to take it into my daughter and I'll let you know what she thinks. So I think that's a long enough video, but I just wanted I haven't given you guys a real good look around the garden this year, so I thought I better do that. Have some really good, successful looking things coming along, and not so great things, but that's all part of gardening and it's part of the adventure. So thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos. And to all of you that have hit that subscribe button, thank you. I cannot believe the positive response I have gotten to this channel. I'm almost at 1,000 subs, so that just blows me away. I can't believe it. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.